The world has changed and it's not slowing down. With 60 years of wisdom, business savvy, and life experience, I've learned how to face change head on with resilience and persistence. And as a committed and very successful coach, I've helped hundreds break through what's holding them back and build the mindset that drives success. I'm Terry Yoffe, and if you're ready to create change, it starts with changing yourself. Let's start a conversation. Every podcast episode will challenge your limiting stories, push you to take bold steps, and inspire you to live the extraordinary life you were meant to have.
A lot of people wait for the perfect moment to start something, and spoiler alert, there's no perfect moment. So perfection isn't required, your presence is. You need to be present.
Sometimes it takes a circuitous path to get where you want to go. Paul Stroessner shares with us how not being perfect doesn't have to stop you, and it has motivated him to start his podcast, GenX Journeys, realizing that sometimes it takes a while to find your passion. Welcome. Today we have a very special guest, Paul Stroessner. I've known him for a few years and have been really impressed by his journey and what he's doing. Paul is a podcaster. He's had several iterations of podcasts, and this iteration is GenX Podcast, which we're going to go very deeply into. Paul is a writer, a runner, and a Gulf War veteran.
Thank you so much, Cherry. It's an honor to be here. I love your show, so I'm so happy to be part of it now.
Thank you. Thank you. And my podcast, not to brag, just went to the top 1.5% globally as per Listen Notes.
All right. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're getting there. Catching up to all the big guns. So, Paul, I like to start with a question of pulling back the curtain and looking at your journey, your struggles, your challenges that brought you to where you are today.
Okay. Oh, I love this question so much. And I've definitely had my challenges. I think the overall arching theme of my challenges is not following my intuition. Because from the time I was in high school, I was always a natural writer. I wrote my first short story when I was 10 years old. But then I never pursued it. I went to high school. In our generation, we were told to go to college, get a good job, retire with the company and everything. So I went into a college prep program, and from growing up, you hear that writers don't make much money unless you're super successful. And you don't have a pathway to that back then. There was no internet or anything. So it kind of left me aimless. So I just struggled through school. And after I graduated, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, even though I went through a college prep program. So what happens then is you go to a community college to get an associate's degree. And I still was aimless, and I ended up spending more time in the arcade than the classroom. So my first semester, I failed or got incomplete in most of my classes. And so then I ended up joining the Navy to hopefully give me more discipline and focus. And my dad was an Army veteran in Vietnam, so he was a bit of an influence on me. So I just decided to join the military, and that was quite an experience. I was stationed at Oakland Naval Hospital, and at the time when there was a giant earthquake, if people are familiar with that, it happened during the World Series. And then I got shipped out to the Gulf War. So I was in for a short time, but it was quite eventful. When I was in the Navy, I ended up getting involved with Amway. If people are familiar with that, it's like a multi-level marketing. And that first introduced me to personal development. So I'm super grateful for that. So then I was thinking more business. Again, I was ignoring my writing instincts. So I went to school, I got my associates in business management, and then I transferred to Bryant College, now university. And computers were the up and coming thing. So I got a degree in CIS, Computer Information Systems. And meanwhile, I'm horrible at math and science. Yeah, I went to computers, but then the English electives I took, I loved and aced. Well, I did really well in school when I went back, but I loved the English classes. I took a Mark Twain honors course, but it still wasn't clicking. I was ignoring myself. And then I got a job as a computer programmer at a medical software company where I've been at now for 30 years almost. Next year I'll be 30 years doing this, even though my passion's been writing. Yes, I'd say my biggest challenge for myself is not following my intuition. And I finally came around to that in 2019. Well, 2010, I started blogging. Blogging started to be a thing. So then I, decided to try it. And then I just fell right into it and I loved it. And the fire was burning and burning inside. So by 2019, I was ready to get my degree in writing. I found Southern New Hampshire University, everything you could do online. So I ended up getting my master's degree in creative writing. I got honors. I'm on the International Honor Society for that. Just following my instincts. I struggled with the computer classes, but this master's degree is supposedly a lot tougher. I just went right through it. So if I had done this from the beginning, so that's probably my biggest struggle is not listening to myself.
So fast forward to 2025, your passion, your goal, your dream has materialized. What got you into podcasting? Because you had one or two before the GenX Journeys.
When I started blogging, my blog was called Return to the 80s because you always hear people say, write what you know. And when I was in college in the 90s, people were always asking me about stuff that happened in the 80s, about 80s pop culture. It just came so easy to me. So I said, I know about the 80s. So I decided to write all about pop culture in the 80s. Podcasting was already around a little bit, but it was starting to grow faster and faster. And listeners were telling me I should have a podcast because I was so knowledgeable. And then I was a guest a couple of podcasts. And when I was on one of them, after it was over, I stayed on the line. I don't think I was supposed to be staying on the line, but then the two hosts said that Paul should have his own podcast. He's really good. And I had a friend of mine that was following my blog that was like my biggest cheerleader trying to get me to podcast. I asked him to be my co-host, so I wouldn't have to do it by myself. So he agreed to that. So I ended up starting a podcast, Return to the 80s podcast. I guess we can go through the evolution because with my running, which is a big part of my life right now, I ran cross country in high school. I was a cross country captain. And then I fell away from it a bit. Every once in a while, I'll start running to lose weight. But then I wasn't consistent with it. I was really out of shape and I ended up getting a personal trainer in 2013. And she asked my history and I told her about running. This was in October. And she said, oh, by December, you're going to run this 5K race and you'll be able to do it without stopping. So that's my trainer, Adriana. So I did it and I just fell in love with it again because the atmosphere was just incredible and uplifting. So that got me back into running. And I did a race that supported the fight against ALS. And then that's when I realized that there were races for charities as well. And that really lit me up. So then while I was on a run, just thinking, the idea came to me of traveling to all 50 states and running a race in each state and bringing attention to the charity of each race that I do. So I called it Journey of the Road Runner, but I spelled road like Rhode Island because I'm from Rhode Island. And so then I started blogging with that as well. And so then right around the same time as I started the Return to the 80s podcast, I started the Journey of the Roadrunner podcast.
And let's bring us up to date. You did Inspiring Journeys, and now it's the GenX Journey.
Yes.
What made you shift to the GenX Journeys? And how do you feel you're creating change within that podcast and that group?
I feel like I can really help because I've been through the struggles of, people our age, because I know I'm not the only one that's been going through this, losing your identity and, not following your dreams. And I'm doing it now and I'm feeling great doing it. And I know a lot of people have given up. So if I put this message out there and I find other guests that are also doing the same thing, I can inspire people to, rediscover their dreams and show that it's never too late to go after them and do what you were meant to do instead of staying stuck in a rut.
Well, I can certainly attest to that. Go into your interviews. What are some of the issues today because I think our audience would love to know, because I'm sure there are Gen Xers listening,
Yeah.
that what are some of the issues that your guests come on and talk about?
It's been a lot of personal development, rediscovering your passions and dreams and kind of inspiring people. I just rebranded this year, so have a guest lined up that hosts Tantra speed dating. So a lot of us are divorced now, or maybe even still single, and it's never too late for love. So I'm gonna have somebody to speak to that. I don't have any children myself. I know a lot of people of our generation, they have children that are like going to college, and at the same time they have parents that are aging, so they're taking care of two different generation. So I'm going to have guests on that will help people out with that, because I can't speak to that myself, but I'm good at connecting and finding people.
So it's a new podcast. Do you find that there are Gen Xers that are knocking on your door who want to be on the show and really talk about what they're going through?
Not yet, maybe some, but I should also mention part of this GenX Journeys is I have this Gen X book club that I do every month, and I post it on this feed as well. So I've actually been getting a lot of Gen X authors contacting me because, through their stories, we can relate to a lot of their stories. That's been wildly popular because I even searched, there's so many book clubs out there, but there's none targeted to Gen X. So this is something different, and I'm getting a lot of feedback for that too. And it goes along the same theme, it helps people out.
Paul has more to share, but first, a quick word from Try Coaching. Do you stay silent when boundaries are crossed, swallowing your anger to keep the peace? How's that working for you? I help people break free from that fear and find the confidence to speak up with strength and clarity. I didn't advocate for myself either until the pain became too great. Don't wait. Let's start a conversation. Now, back to the podcast. If you had to guess what one or two of the biggest issues that Gen Xers face today, what would they be?
Feeling stuck in your career. Like I said, I'm living proof of that. I'm burned out in this computer programming career. It's not what I meant to be doing. And I know a lot of other people are, either stuck in jobs or even relationships that, they might be stuck in and they feel like there's no way out.
Right. So Gen X is between what age and what age?
It's from 1965 and 1980.
Okay, so 45 to 60. And that is midlife for a lot of people that, from their 20s to their 40s or 50s, they may have, had one job or two jobs. It's very different today than it was in my generation. And certainly you were probably on the cusp of how things have changed in today's world of generations. And, when you get to that age, people are looking around and saying, do I really want this? I'm guessing. What am I doing here? How do I make a career change? What does that take?
Yeah.
Or they're beginning to feel they're too old. Have you had somebody on that has felt any of these emotions between 45 and 60? In today's world, that's not too old to make changes. I mean, I started coaching. I'm a business and communications coach at 60. I think that you can reinvent yourself. It's a question of figuring out, how can I do this? What do I want to do? What do I really want to do? In my heart, like you, wanted to be a writer, but it didn't go anywhere for a long time because I think your mindset and that generation was, that's a nebulous type job. How do you make a living? And then you squash it until it bubbles up again. And maybe it does that in the Gen X generation, where they're on the cusp of, They're not the younger generation of the millennials or the Gen Zers or the next, which is the baby boomers.
Yeah, we were on the cutting edge of everything, the technology, the computers were really, personal computers came out as we were growing up, this technology, and it's changing faster than ever. So it's really tough to keep up. But as Gen Xers, we tend to be resilient because we were probably the first generation where both parents would go to work. So you come home from school and fend for yourself. And, again, there was no technology. I think, again, I'm not a parent now, but I think with technology that it's easier to communicate with the kids, see where they are and everything, all these apps that they have and everything. So we tend to be resilient. You just need to be aware of it. You need to have kind of a wake up call. And actually, another thing to include with that is your health, because that's how I got into running. I went back to the gym because of, being all out of shape, and it's never too late to do that. I'm actually training for my first marathon for October. And if you look at me, I don't have the classic runner's physique. I'm definitely middle-aged, got the dad bod, but I'm doing it. And I'm feeling that people are actually inspired by that because they see the magazines and see these runners out there killing it, and they think, oh, I can never do that. But as I'm tracking my journey and I post each of my training runs, because you start slow, that's what you have to do. You just start. You don't look at the finish line. You go through the process and start one step at a time. And I'm showing my progress, and it's actually inspiring other people to take up running.
I love that point. We've met, so you do not have the body of what people visualize as a runner, so to speak. It's not your slim and stealth yet. And this is so wonderful that even though you aren't what people imagine a runner to look like, that's their mindset. You've still chosen to take up running, being a few pounds overweight, yet getting stronger and not letting that get in your way of doing what you want to do, which is running. And you've been doing it consistently for a few years. And yet when somebody meets you and you probably tell them, oh, I'm a runner, they look at you and say, what? And that's a great, great metaphor, if you will, for you don't have to be perfect or fit a mold to do what you want. It doesn't take perfection. It takes just getting started, like you've done. You waited a long time to call forth your passion about writing. It just didn't rear its head because of all of the societal norms.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that. I never followed a societal norm in my life. So for me, they don't mean anything. At 82, I just went to speaker school and I have 2 virtual speaking engagements and I am starting to speak. That's my next leveling up. And people would look at me and say, what? Again? Why aren't you retired? And I say, I will never retire. So here we are, 2 people, different ends of the spectrum, so to speak, me doing what most people at my age don't do, and you in your age group doing a lot of what Gen Xers might not do. It would be too scary. So what are 2 tidbits that you can give to today's Gen Xers as we start to close today's podcast?
You kind of touched on it a bit. A lot of people wait for the perfect moment to start something, and spoiler alert, there's no perfect moment. So perfection isn't required. Your presence is. You need to be present and listen to yourself and just take one step at a time. You're not going to jump right into the finish. I'm training for this marathon one step at a time. I'm not just going to just show up at the marathon and expect to run 26.2 miles. You need to take one step at a time and just focus on that next step and trust the process. Just start. If you're listening to this now, you're meant to be listening to this, and just this is the new beginning for you. So today is day one. So start taking steps right now and don't wait. And as you take these steps, those things start opening up for you. When I started running, when I did that 5K, I would have never imagined even considering a marathon. And now here we go. I'm like running in all 50 states and training for a marathon that I'm going to finish. I'm speaking into existence. Be present and get started.
I love that. Are you planning on doing the New York Marathon?
Like I mentioned, I live in Rhode Island, so I've gone to the Boston Marathon a few times now. So yes, I'd love to do all those Boston, New York, Chicago, and hey, even worldwide. So yeah.
I knew a guy that ran and went to marathons all over the globe. That was his passion. I loved what you said. Just get started. One step. That's all it takes. One step at a time. And the timing, the day, you don't have to be perfect. There's no perfection. It's just getting started. And I love you've gotten started. You took a while to get to your passion, but you're there and you're doing it. And even running it, when you started, you didn't run a marathon. It was one step once a day. And look where you've gotten. Paul, this has been really informative and very inspiring for Gen Xers because it doesn't matter. You're not too old to fulfill your dreams like Paul. So, Paul, thank you so much. It's really been wonderful having you, hearing you and your struggles and where you've come to today and how you are inspiring a whole generation of Gen Xers.
Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate it. This has been so much fun. Yeah, I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Paul's takeaway: motivate yourself by just starting and don't wait for that perfect moment. Meet Melinda Blau, an 81-year-old award-winning journalist who has been researching and writing about relationships and social trends for the last 40 years and believes how aging is a gift to be enjoyed and not frowned upon. In her book, The Wisdom Whisperers, she talks about her old ladies, as she calls them, about life, living, and getting older, and how ageism doesn't have to define you. You won't want to miss this inspiring and eye-opening conversation with a woman that has defied ageism and is doing life on her terms.